Good morning and welcome to the Committee on Ways and Means. Committee Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson. Assemblywoman Backus. Assemblywoman Brown May. Assemblywoman Dickman. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Assemblyman Hafen. Assemblywoman Howdigi. Assemblywoman Kasama. Assemblyman Miller. Assemblyman O'Neill. Assemblywoman Peters. Assemblyman Watts. Assemblyman Yeager. And Chair Monroe Moreno.
And I am here. Will you please mark Assemblyman Watts and Assemblyman Yeager present as they arrive? Members, we have a number of bills on our agenda for today that you have some amendments on your desk. I'll remind everyone joining us in the audience and the members to turn off or mute your electronic devices. Members will be using their laptops. Please do not take that as a sign of disrespect. They will be doing work from their laptops and following along with today's meeting and all of the exhibits that are included. We will have public comment at the end of today's meeting, and if you'd like to call in for public comment, our phone number for today is 888-475-4499. Our meeting ID is 818-232-57255, and then please press pound. Again, public comment will be at the end of the meeting, and each speaker will have 2 minutes to speak. When you do speak, please turn on the mic and state and spell your name for the record. So with that, we'll get started with the first item on today's agenda, and that item is Assembly Bill 195, which revises provisions governing certain fees for driver's license and identification cards. Good morning, Assemblywoman Hardy.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairwoman Monroe Moreno and members of the Assembly Ways and Means. For the record, I'm Assemblywoman Melissa Hardy, and I represent Assembly District 22 in Clark County. I'm here today to present Assembly Bill 195, which revises provisions governing certain fees for driver's licenses. Just a little bit of background how I came upon this bill. In 2015, my youngest daughter took her first criminal justice course at UNLV, and they had a special visitor come in with Hope for Prisoners, and she was so impressed with his presentation and what she learned about recidivism that led her to do an extensive report on the subject, which she shared with me, and also piqued my interest in this topic. And later, as I ran for office and began to serve my community, I started to look into what practical measures can be taken to assist those coming out of prison so that they have the tools they need to reenter their communities and lessen the likelihood of them reoffending and being incarcerated again. Recidivism is a complex issue, but there are practical, common sense measures that can be taken to help prevent and reduce it. One of these measures is providing formerly incarcerated individuals with the ability to obtain a driver's license or an ID. Identification is essential for accessing services, employment, and housing, and without it, individuals struggle to reintegrate into society. Providing them with a form of ID can help them overcome these barriers and facilitate their reentry. Additionally, obtaining a driver's license can be a critical step in helping individuals find and maintain employment. Transportation is often a significant challenge for people who have been incarcerated, and a driver's license can provide them with greater mobility, independence, and access to the job market. Overall, providing these individuals with the ability to obtain a driver's license is a practical measure that can make a significant impact on reducing recidivism and supporting successful reentry into society. Under current Nevada statute, there is a possible waiver of fees to furnish duplicate licenses and the cost of producing a photograph to a person who is released from prison, a county, city, or town jail, or a detention facility within the 90 days immediately preceding the person's application for a driver's license. Under certain circumstances, the person may have to reimburse the Department of Motor Vehicles for a certain portion of the fee. However, in Nevada, there are still many individuals released with only their prison IDs, which is not accepted as a valid form of identification for transactions such as rental applications, job applications, bank accounts, and other essential steps to reintegrate into society. Therefore, I introduce AB 195, which is based on similar legislation passed in Delaware. So in the bill, Section 3 of AB 195 is adding 3 transactions, which would require the DMV to waive the fees for 1, furnishing an original or renewal driver's license, 2, reinstating a driver's license, and 3, producing a photograph for a driver's license, including any reimbursement if a person submits documentation verifying they were released from prison within the year immediately preceding the person's application for a driver's license. Similarly, Section 1 requires DMV to waive the fee of $25 for the driver's examination, not more than one time, for a person who submits documentation verifying their release from prison within the immediate preceding year. Lastly, Section 2 of the bill provides an additional exception to the penalty for any persons whose license expires during a period of incarceration, again, providing they give the documentation that shows they were released within the immediately preceding year. In the assembly hearing, I did do an amendment so that this would apply to ID cards as well, and not just a driver's license. I am a proponent of practical common sense measures that we as lawmakers can enact to assist individuals with reentry and success. So that is my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions, and thank you very much for hearing this important legislation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Members, any questions? Assemblywoman Backus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Assemblywoman Hardy, for presenting your bill. I just have a quick question because I noticed the fiscal note pertains solely to the driver's license, and I just caught that in addition you added identification cards. I didn't see a revised fiscal note. Do you know or anticipate that Department of Motor Vehicles plans to reflect additional decreased revenue for the identification cards?
Melissa Hardy, for the record. Yes, I did speak with a representative from DNV regarding that, and I believe they're here and can speak to that. It was just a small increase to that original fiscal note, but I believe that they will be able to address that.
If there's someone here from DMV, if you could step up to the table to address the questions that's been asked. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Martin Hefner, representing the Department of Motor Vehicles. We did not submit a revised fiscal note for this. We did speak with the Assemblywoman regarding the impact to including ID cards in this. We estimate that it would probably be in addition to about under $5,000 to include ID cards in this provision.
Thank you so much. And I would just ask if there was any way you could submit a revised fiscal note. That would be great.
Thank you again. We will go ahead and contact LCB and see if we can submit a revised fiscal note for this.
Thank you so much. Members, any other questions for the presenters? All right, seeing none, thank you so much. I'll invite you to take a seat back, and we will open testimony in support of Assembly Bill 195. Seeing no one coming to the table here in Carson City, we'll go down to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 195? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 195?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 95, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 195? Seeing none, Going to Las Vegas, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 195? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 195?
If you would like to testify in opposition on Assembly Bill 195, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Coming back to Carson City, is there anyone that would like to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 195? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 195? Seeing none, and I believe there's still no one joining us by phone as of yet this morning. Is that correct, BPS?
If you would like to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 195, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify on this bill.
Thank you so much. Any closing comments?
Melissa Hardy, for the record, I just wanted again to thank you for hearing this bill, and I ask that you support it so that we can give these individuals the opportunity to have something that we might take for granted, but that can be so instrumental and significant in helping them come back into their communities and be successful in their lives. And so, again, thank you, and I ask for your support of this bill.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 195, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 258. Good morning.
Good morning. Madam Chair, are you ready for us to start? Thank you so much. Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno and committee members of the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means. I am Shay Backus, representing Assembly District 37 in Clark County. I also have Martin Fitzgerald with me today to present this bill to the Money Committee. So first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 258, which seeks to find the appropriate balance between the government power and people's right to privacy. Specifically, AB 258 would require government entities to keep 501c nonprofit information confidential, including donor, member, and volunteer data. The bill does not include a list of exemptions. The bill does include a list of exemptions to this requirement. For example, this bill does not change or weaken any current disclosures required by the state campaign finance, nonprofit, or corporate registration laws. In sum, the proactive privacy protections in AB 258 prohibit rogue office holders and agencies from operating outside of their legal jurisdiction and weaponizing the powers of the office against people or organizations they may not like. A conceptual amendment has been supplied to the committee, which reflects continued efforts to work with various stakeholders. I will quickly cover the proposed amendment to AB 258, and I believe each of you have a copy of that on your desk. First, the printed amendment and reprint inadvertently failed to remove the criminal penalties for an employee's failure to comply with AB 258. This amendment reflects that such language is to be stricken. Next, the other amendments are to clean up and refine exemptions to the allowable uses of information that we have worked with government entities on. Since we are in the Money Committee, I will now focus on the fiscal notes. First, Department of Taxation has removed its fiscal note. As I understand, the Office of the Attorney General has indicated that it will still require an attorney and investigator in order to investigate any claims and to provide a defense to any civil litigation. Since similar policies have been implemented in 15 other states over the last 5 years, we understand that there have been no lawsuits that have yet been filed. Thus, and similar to if you look in their Department of Public Safety, also included a fiscal note with a zero value that included there may be a need down the road for them to hire someone. So with that, we would recommend that any funding for a new position for the Office of Attorney General be placed in contingency and revert back to the general fund if not accessed. Chief of Staff Benitez Thompson is here today and can answer any further questions, but after further discussions, it is more than likely that the Office of Attorney General would likely come to IFC for a contracted position if a claim did in fact come up during the next biennium. In closing, I would like to thank Chair Monroe Marino and members of the committee for hearing this bill today. I urge your support, but if anyone has any questions, we stand ready to answer them.
Thank you so much for the presentation and the amendment. Members, do you have any questions for the presenters? Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Assemblywoman, for the bill, because in theory, I think it's really good, but I'm just wondering if you have worked with local governments, because it seems like this could have a huge fiscal impact on them. First of all, maybe determining what is and what isn't confidential information, and then I think about with all the problems we have hiring and keeping people, this might be a deterrent for someone if they knew that they could have a civil penalty for a simple mistake.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Dickman, by and through Chair Monroe Marino. I thank you for the question, and we've had multiple conversations regarding that, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding. This is not necessarily an automatic civil penalty. The bill does provide an avenue for someone to bring a civil suit against someone that does release confidential information. The bill on its face, I do believe, is pretty clear. And I looked through the fiscal notes. You kind of asked me like 5 questions, so I'm trying to touch on all of them. So sorry for the stream of conscious answer. But with respect to the fiscal notes, there were no fiscal notes submitted by any of the local government entities. And you may have asked one more question that I may not have touched or answered.
I guess it kind of had to do. I mean, I'm glad to see the criminal penalty removed, but how would it affect hiring and retaining? I wonder if someone could be sued civilly for, say, just inadvertently letting some information, like maybe leave something on a copy machine by accident, or.
Thank you, Assemblywoman, for your question through Chair Monroe Marino.
You can go directly to the member.
The question you asked was like leaving something on a copy machine. I would assume that would be within the office. But let's just say someone did a public records request, an employee did disclose a confidential list of donors to a nonprofit. In that hypothetical one, Nevada law already provides protections to that employee that if that employee were to be sued, it is really the department or agency, like at the head, that is responsible for that lawsuit. In the bill, there are 2 different types of damages that could be awarded by the court. If it was willful, it's a higher damage. If it was just like negligible, it is a lower damage of $2,500. As a practicing lawyer, how I would see this honestly being used is if I got wind of a subpoena going to local government seeking information that I know is confidential and was provided to that agency in confidence, that I would utilize subsection A remedy, which would be to seek injunctive relief immediately to preclude that disclosure of information. This bill is basically brought because there has been around the country a lot of threats of utilizing governmental positions to release confidential information to harm people. And so we're simply just bringing that bill to close that gap. And I think there's a lot of concerns surrounding the what if situations, but there have been 15 states that have adopted this over the last 5 years, and there hasn't been a suit brought yet to our knowledge.
Thank you so much, and thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, members. Any other questions? Sure, Assemblyman O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. I can see you. Quick question, just for clarification. And I was I read this earlier, and I may have misunderstood. The suit, if a person releases information, even unintentionally, the suit can be brought by just the individual that was damaged, or can it be brought by the agency that the person belongs to, or it's only the person that is damaged, and they've got to show how that, even unintentional release, they were damaged, correct?
Thank you, Assemblyman, for your question. Since I feel like I'm reliving my policy hearing, and I'm welcome to answer these questions because no, it's okay because it happened at the same time period that we're in our committee. These are important questions because I know a lot of people are concerned about the lawsuit capacity of it. But under like both federal and state law, there's a concept of justiciability, which requires that there is standing for someone to bring a suit. And so with this, it's a person who has been injured who can bring a suit. That is the proper person who has standing to bring a suit. And likewise, they would show their damages. There is a minimum, though, because in this situation, sometimes it may be hard, but I always give the example that if you're on a donor list and may have an employer that doesn't agree with your philosophies that normally you could keep protected, that if that information was released and you lost your job because of being on a donor to a certain group, in that situation, your damages would be a lot higher. But that's just a rare hypothetical situation.
Thank you, Chair, for the time.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any other questions to the fiscal aspects of this bill? All right, seeing none, I'd ask the Attorney General's office if they could step up just to speak to their fiscal note on this PDR for the one Deputy Attorney General. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno, Teresa Benitez Thompson, representing Chief of Staff to Attorney General Ford, representing Office of Attorney General. Did you had a question? I apologize, I didn't hear it as I was walking up.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. You have a fiscal note, even with the amendments that were in the bill before we got here and the new amendments that were presented today. Will you still need one new DAG for this?
Yeah, Teresa Benitez Thompson for the record, Chief of Staff to Attorney General Ford, to you, Chairman Moreno. So we've been having ongoing conversations about this, and yes, for the DAG and the investigator, essentially just because it's prudent to do in terms of the risk of exposure we're moving to. So right now in the Chapter 239B, there are immunities, broad immunities for violations for state or political subdivisions on paying damages. So we're going from a relatively smaller statute right now with immunity to exposure of all the 501c3s, all employees, all agencies, and that risk of exposure, it grows quite a bit.
Assemblyman O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Benitez Thompson, if I understand, the testimony prior was that there were, I forget if it was 13 or 17 other states for the last several years have enacted this statute and have yet to have an incident. So you're going to need more staff to handle something that hasn't happened, may happen, just because. Do I understand that's your explanation?
Thank you. To Teresa Benitez Thompson for the record, through Chair Moreno to Assemblyman O'Neill. It's the decision that we're putting in front of you, but that we believe that it's prudent with the level of exposure of all state employees and all state agencies, that it would make sense to plan for if this happens. If we got a complaint of even, let's say, 3 a year, and plaintiff's attorneys work 200 to 300 hours, that could easily be 1,800 hours of response work for one of our DAGs. Additionally, the bill is requiring not just that list be, if a list is inadvertently provided to Assemblywoman Bacchus's statement, like if someone, an employee accidentally released a list of nonprofit volunteers, right? It's asking us to proactively redact the information within these public record sections to ensure that no information is given out. So there's not only the reactive piece, but the proactive piece as well.
May I follow up, Chair? Currently, we have, if I'm not mistaken, DAGs assigned basically to every agency now. And as I get back to, they're doing their work, they're handling, particularly at Department of Public Safety, maybe handling lawsuits now. And I get back to the part, these other states for the last several years have not had an incident, and you're already hypothesizing that Nevada staff is such incompetent that you're going to have 3 complaints a year minimum?
Thank you so much.
Having trouble understanding that.
Teresa Benitez-Thompson, for the record, Chief of Staff to AG Ford. I would never characterize Nevada's state employees or agencies as incompetent. I think that would be a absolutely putting words into my mouth on what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it is absolutely the job of our office to calculate risk and exposure for the state, especially considering tort funds, where these dollars will be paid at. So when we're considering risk and exposure and liability to the state, we have to consider the fact that we're going from 0 right now to a very high level of exposure and provide you with that information. So we're providing you with that information. You can take it as it's our best estimate in speaking and reviewing this with our Attorney General, first and second Assistant Attorney General, and our General Counsel. So that's our best estimate right now and what we'll provide for the record.
I appreciate it. We will agree to disagree. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the questions. And thank you for the explanation of, right now we have the way the statute is currently written. Oh, Ms. Benita Thompson left. I looked down and you weren't there.
I'm back. Sorry, Chair.
That's okay. So I want to make sure that I understand what you're saying. Right now, as the statute is currently written, it's very limited as to who could bring a suit. But as the piece of legislation before us, it opens that up. So there could be the possibility that there would be other suits, and you're just making sure that your office would be prepared in the event that that would happen, correct?
I want to, Teresa Benitez-Thompson, for the record, Chief of Staff to AG Ford. I want to amend your statement because you're nearly correct. Right now, AB 239B060 is written, has immunity. So there's no ability. There's a broad immunity for violations, state and political subdivisions. So that's, we're going from no exposure in terms of those type of lawsuits to now this exposure. So correct.
Thank you so much for that correction. I appreciate it. Members, any other questions on the fiscal aspects? All right, seeing none, I thank you all and ask you to step back, and we will invite anyone to the table that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 258. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Janine Hansen. I'm the state president of Nevada Families for Freedom, and we are very appreciative of this bill. It's very important. Last session in 2021, SB 62 aimed at forcing the release of nonprofit donor information. In 2021, the U.S. Supreme Court, by a 6-3 vote, the court struck down a California law requiring nonprofits to file a list of their large donors with the state. The court said the law subjected donors to harassment, chilling their speech, and violation of the First Amendment. This is a critical bill to protect nonprofit donors of all kinds, of the whole political spectrum, and who are not even political at all, from harassment of the government. It prevents them from violating free speech. It's critical, the fundamental right of free speech and association, and this bill helps to protect those, and we are completely in favor of it, and we hope that you will support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 258? Seeing none, Moving to Las Vegas, is there anyone there in the room that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 258? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone lines that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 258?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 258, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll come back to Carson City. Is there anyone here that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 258? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. For the record, my name is Vincent Guthreau. First name is spelled Vinson. Last name is Guthreau, Gutreau. I serve as the Executive Director of the Nevada Association of Counties, or NACO. We are here. First off, I appreciate the intent of this bill. We have met with the Assemblywoman, and we really appreciate her conversation with us. And if you'll indulge me just a little bit, some of my stuff might fringe on policy, but I think the policy leads to the fiscal impact. So just a couple things. We had made a suggestion to the sponsor that there be an exemption in this bill for following state law. There are conflicting laws that require local governments to disclose information, and then this bill it fines us for doing that. So we appreciate the intent of the bill. I just think we have some conflicts here. I do want to also address the comment about local governments not submitting fiscal notes. I understand that local governments can submit unsolicited fiscal notes. However, the way that this bill sort of came about, not placing blame here, we just were not asked for those fiscal notes. Happy to reach out to my members again and ask them to encourage them. I will say, I think that it's a bit undetermined. The bill sort of deals with what ifs and sort of makes an attempt to stop things in the future. So I think it might be undetermined, but I will ask them for that information. So the other thing I want to say is that I think, unfortunately, like I said, appreciate the sponsor, appreciate being able to have a conversation with her, but even with the amendment, local governments for NACO remain opposed. Clark County also wanted me to put on the record that they share our concerns and are also opposed. So thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Stephen Wood, today representing both the Nevada League of Cities and Carson City, testifying in opposition to AB 258. Like Vince said, I would like to thank the sponsor for taking the time to meet with local governments and hear our concerns. And although we too have no issues with the intent of the bill, we do have serious concerns with certain sections, namely Section 2, because we believe that it will lead to frivolous lawsuits and significant issues with compliance, and that's where the fiscal impact to local governments does come. So with that, I'll echo the comments of Vince from NACO, but I will also say that this opens it up for suits, and I understand what the proponents of the bill testified to, but Section 2, subsection 4 does state that any person who alleges, not just the injured party, that there has been a violation of these provisions can file a civil action. So, and it also sets a floor, not a ceiling for that monetary, for those monetary damages. We also, like Ben said, there are a lot of what ifs. The bill is a what if in a lot of ways. And to deal with that and to deal with those compliance issues, we believe that there's going to come a time where we're going to have to hire additional staff, like the Attorney General's office will, to deal with not only the civil action that this could bring, but also the compliance, dealing with public records and continuing to review those, because we're going to have to balance existing state public records law with the provisions of this bill, and that's not going to be an easy task. So we thank you for your consideration and appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you so much. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Isaac Hardy, representing the Urban Consortium, which is made up of Reno, Sparks, Henderson, Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas. I will keep it brief and just echo my colleagues' comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 258? Seeing none, going to Las Vegas. Is there anyone there in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of 258? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 258?
If you would like to testify in opposition on Assembly Bill 258, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Coming back to Carson City, is there anyone that would like to testify in the position of neutral on Assembly Bill 258? Seeing none, going to Las Vegas. Is there anyone there in Las Vegas that would like to provide testimony in the position of neutral on Assembly Bill 258? Seeing none. BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to testify in the position of neutral on Assembly Bill 258?
If you would like to testify neutral on Assembly Bill 258, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we'll come back to Carson City. Any closing remarks?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I would normally waive closing remarks, but just because a lot of stuff was left open-ended, I wanted to kind of close that loop. First and foremost, Nevada law does already provide ceilings for lawsuits for our governmental entities when a legal action is brought. Next, governmental entities deal with confidential information a lot of the time. I know, for example, whenever I subpoena information as a lawyer from like the Nevada State Contractors Board, I get redacted copies of information. This simply pertains to nonprofits, list of donors, their volunteers. This information has been used in our country to by people running for office to exploit certain groups. And in the underlying policy hearing, we had support from unions and diverse groups of nonprofits because this information is intended to be kept confidential. There is a litany of listed items of exclusions. We're not trying to do anything with weird with campaign finance laws. There's clearly exceptions for that. There's exceptions for police officers if they issue a warrant and get sufficient information. This is purely to provide protection so that information is not being publicized. And so with that, I thank the committee for their time today. And if anyone has any questions on this bill, I'm always happy to answer those outside of this.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 258, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 319. Good morning. You can start whenever you're ready.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Assemblywoman Sandra Howdy, and I'm honored to be here today to present Assembly Bill 319. This is the first hearing that Assembly Bill 319 is getting, so I do want to give the committee some context. Many of us in this committee are familiar with the Universal School Lunch Program because during the interim, the majority of us excitedly voted to continue to fund universal school lunches. This year, we are making historic investments in education, and with an additional $42 million, we can impact education, but more importantly, impact the well-being of our students. Behavioral, emotional, and mental health and academic problems are all more prevalent amongst children who face hunger. Children who are facing hunger are more likely to be absent and less productive at school. But we also know children who eat breakfast statistically perform better in the classroom and on standardized tests. But personally to me, something just as important is it will also help make every Nevada student from every walk of life feel equal at school by removing the stigma of knowing who is on free and reduced lunch and who is not. Committee, there are still many families coming out of the pandemic that could use a little extra help. Today, we have the opportunity to help those families and reduce the number of children who face food insecurity. Chair, with your permission, I would like to turn it over to Gabby Everett with 3 Square for brief comments, and then I would like to walk the committee through the amendment.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everybody. For the record, my name is Gabby, Gabby Everett, Everett, from 3 Square Food Bank. We just want to start by thanking the chairwoman and committee members for considering Assembly Bill 319 this morning. And we want to give many thanks to the majority leader for really championing this critical piece of legislation. As the majority leader outlined in some of her initial remarks, we just kind of want to walk through the importance and benefits of this. Healthy School Meal for All efforts are currently making their way across the nation as some of this previous programming has begun to sunset. And we are really thrilled that Nevada continues to remain at the forefront of that conversation, as is the Nevada way. The pandemic showed us and taught us so many things, but really namely among them is how prevalent food insecurity remains across our community and state, and how reliant students are on accessing nutrition through their schools. Prior state and legislative actions on universal school meal funding, such as what the IFC did, as the majority leader addressed, found that more than 468,000 Nevada pupils have full bellies and clearer heads today as they navigate the school day due to the current universal school meal programming. This is crucial when identifying that based on 2021 Feeding America Map the Meal Gap data, more than 93,000 children across 3 Square's service area of Clark, Esmeralda, Lincoln, and Nye counties reside in food insecure households. Furthermore, as of June 30th, 2021, the Clark County School District, the largest in our service area, was reporting that more than 75%, or more than 240,000 students, were qualified for free or reduced price meals. So really, we just want to talk about the significant role this plays. First, widespread access to school meals lessens stigmas and increases meal participation, as the majority leader shared. At 3 Square, we're definitely all about removing the barriers that stand in the way to Southern Nevadans being able to access the benefits and services they so badly need to succeed. And we believe that there's no shame in accessing that community support, and we know that when such services are widely available, more individuals are likely to partake in them. Second, school meal participation actually leads to improved attendance. Researchers believe this is based on 2 things. Students from low-income households may be motivated to attend school to access food available on site that isn't available at home. And improved nutrition actually may decrease the incidence of illness that may keep them out of the classroom. The Nevada Department of Education continues to grapple with high rates of chronic absenteeism and lagging attendance rates across Nevada schools, and universal school meal legislation has the likelihood of helping to improve this. Third, tangential to improved attendance, as the majority leader addressed, is improved academic performance. When students have access to the necessities like food, they can focus on the task at hand, learning and applying themselves in the classroom. School meal participation has been proven to improve behavior and test scores and to reduce out-of-school suspension rates. Fourth, school meals help alleviate food insecurity and poverty, which is one of our chief focuses at the food bank. School lunch programming alone has been said to lift 1.2 million people, including 722,000 children nationwide, above the poverty line. When schools provide breakfast and lunch at no charge, area households spend less money on groceries, and lower-income families buy more nutritious food. Additionally, school meal policies have positive impacts on our wider society and economy. A 2021 analysis identified that universal school meal programs generate more than $40 billion in health and economic benefits, which is more than double the $19 billion spent on direct food costs. Fifth, and tied into the alleviation of poverty, is that universal school meal programming eliminates school meal debt, which poses burdensome not only for school districts, but also families. Current poverty thresholds used for federal meal programming do not account for families' complex socioeconomic realities, which often include debt burdens, health and medication costs, high rent and mortgage costs, and associated high costs of living. Prior to the pandemic, the state's two biggest school districts, Washoe and Clark County, were reporting a collective more than $150,000 in school meal debt some years. By making school meals universal, we can provide better financial stability to school districts and greater certainty to families. And finally, school meals improve child nutrition and help stabilize child health and wellness later into life. School meals help reduce the risk of childhood overweight and obesity, especially for children in poverty. Through school meal programming, students consume more whole grains, milk, fruits, and vegetables, and generally improve their overall diet quality. The list really could go on here, but there are so many benefits that universal school meal programming can have on our communities and state. We're just really grateful to the members of this committee for hearing this today, and we request your support at this time on this critical piece of legislation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if it's okay with you, I would like to walk the committee through the amendment. Thank you. Committee members, there is an amendment before you that's aimed to do three things. One, I would like to move the program into the Nevada Department of Agriculture where it's currently housed, since they are already set up to administer this program. By moving it there too, it will cover all of the schools as I intended it to cover, just keeping the program exactly the same as it is when we funded it during interim finance committee, to cover public, charter, and private schools so that all students can benefit from this. And second, because the program, because the program did cost less than what we had initially appropriated during the interim finance committee, there is still ARPA dollars left to cover the 2023-2024 school year. So the appropriation request before you is to reduce the amount in my initial request to just $43 million, because that would cover students until we are here again in 2025. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And does that complete your presentation? Awesome. Members, any questions for the presenter? I will go to Assemblywoman Kasama and then Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you, Majority Leader. I know it's important. I know if I miss breakfast, I have a headache by 10 o'clock, so I know that this is important for all of us. I just wanted to clarify two things. One, because I truly don't know. Currently in the public school system, I know that I keep hearing the word stigma if people on free and reduced lunch. I was under the impression that there was just one card, like you load a card and then the kids can use that. Or are there separate looking cards for kids, or what is the current process?
I can't answer that question, Assemblywoman Kasama. I don't know if anyone from the Nevada Department of Education is here or anyone who can answer that question, and I can also get information and bring it to you. But if you can answer that question, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Brittany Malley with School Nutrition Supervisor with the Nevada Department of Agriculture, for the record. So everybody either has a card or a PIN number that they use to go through the line, and so it is confidential to the students, but can be that typically they know, and it depends, but if a kid is getting lunch, some of the other kids might assume that they are free or reduced eligible. So that's kind of where the stigma comes from. It is confidential to all the students, but kids talk and word gets around. But there is, to answer your question, cards or PIN numbers that they use.
But also in response to that, if I can, in touring schools in my district and having my grandchildren in elementary schools, some of the schools have two lines. For the students that are not getting a free lunch, they were in one line. The kids that are getting free lunch go to a separate line at some of the schools. So there is that stigma that if you're in that line, you're the poor kid. So that's still happening in some schools.
Can I say something for the record? Okay, Brittany Malley, School Nutrition Supervisor for the Department of Agriculture. That's against our regulations that they're supposed to be following. We do go out and review schools to look for that type of thing. So that is good to know that that does happen. Thank you.
Thank you. So that kind of helps to clarify that. But my other question with this program, we get federal dollars. We can get federal dollars reimbursed for free and reduced lunch. And so that means when children are enrolled, I just want to capture federal dollars. So we're spending state money on this, and I want to make sure that we fully get reimbursed every penny we can from the federal dollars so that I just want to make sure this doesn't change when people register at the schools, that they are still filling out paperwork for that. So we can use that paperwork to send in to get the federal dollars to offset some of this so that we can provide even more. I just want to make sure that that process is still being done and that parents are encouraged to still do that so we get our federal dollars.
Brittany Miley, School Nutrition Supervisor, Department of Agriculture, for the record. Yes, so we do ask that the school districts and the schools that are in the school lunch program fill out, send out applications and promote that for parents to fill out. There's other benefits that they get besides just school lunch to do that. So we do require that they send out applications and collect that. And we made a strong push for that this year, especially to try and extend our ARPA funding to cover the meals as long as we possibly could. And then I do know that the majority for this school year, for the federal dollars, they're covering 73% of the meal reimbursements for this
Great.
year. Yeah, so,
So this will continue, getting the federal dollars.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing forward this language. I, as a, excuse me, as an educator, I recognize that I have to, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, being safe, well-fed, is much more important than Bloom's taxonomy, which is what I get to do in the classroom. I have one question. How much is it usually per breakfast? Like, I know that I was looking up some information. It looked like the average, the latest information I could find was $2.72. But then with the federal government, how much does that usually pay back? So I was just wondering how much it is per average for the breakfast.
Brittany Malley, for the record, Department of Agriculture. Are you asking exactly how much reimbursement we get back from the government, or how much a student would have to pay for that breakfast?
Great question, and you're absolutely right. That was not clear at all.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you for catching me on that. I guess how much does the department have to pay per breakfast? And then also, based upon the last question, how much does the federal government usually reimburse for that?
Okay, so the federal reimbursement for a breakfast typically is for a free breakfast, if a student qualifies for free, is $2.26. For a paid breakfast, if a kid qualifies as a paid eligibility, it's 50 cents. So then we would be covering that difference. So it's $2.26 minus 50 cents.
Thank you so much. And so this would help alleviate some of those issues, is what I'm hearing you say. So that way the school districts are not the ones that are going to have to pay for that extra amount. Is that what I'm
correct.
understanding?
Correct. Or students, if it went back to, then a kid would have to pay, maybe $2 for a breakfast if they didn't qualify for free.
And my last follow-up, I promise. This is for pre-K through 12, or is this only for certain grades? And also for charter with the amendment, as well as for public schools, traditional public?
Thank you for the question, and it does. So the appropriation is just going to be a continuation of the program that's currently funded, which covers K through 12, and I just learned right now from Ms. Melly that it also covers pre-K, if pre-K is there as well.
You're welcome. Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually have two questions. The first one, though, is, so this $43 million, which would be general fund after ARPA funds, is this after the federal money that we get? So it's so what does the program actually cost? I mean, I could do the math, I suppose, but I'm not real good at that.
Brittany Malley, for the record, Department of Agriculture. I do not have that total number, but I do know for, as of this year, the reduced and paid meals, and that's for at least, for breakfast and lunch. So the majority, there's 73% coming from federal dollars. But I can get the total for you.
Okay.
We have that. I just don't have it. I didn't
Thank
write
you.
it down.
The other question I had, though, is about the cards that you were talking about. Because I had a couple of families contact me. These were people who had sent their kids to school with lunch. And then at the end of the school year, they got three $500 gift cards, one for each child. Not gift cards, probably debit cards. So if people aren't eating the school lunch, they get the money?
Brittany Malley for the record, Department of Agriculture. No, so those cards are going to be related to the pandemic EBT program and the summer PEBT program, which is now ending. There's one more for this summer, but that's separate program and is related to that. That's
So
not-
everybody got those?
only if they qualified as a free or reduced student eligibility, or if they went to a school that was a community eligibility provision school. So no, not everybody. It was
Because the
certain-
families I heard from would not have been qualified, but maybe they went to that type of school.
Correct. Yeah. So it would, like, if they're at a school that is community eligibility provision,
Okay.
it's all students, whether they might be a higher income family, they would still qualify for those
So
cards.
with this program, though, they would not be getting the cash.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And Assemblywoman Dickman, I will make sure to get the information back on what the total cost of the program is, and I'll share it with the entire committee.
Assemblyman Miller.
Thank you. Uh-oh, my mic's a little short. I gotta talk a little louder. I thank you so much for doing this. I think it's so important that our youth have one less thing to worry about as they're getting their education. And but I'm just curious. You mentioned there are cards and pins. What's the difference? Who gets a card? Who gets a pin? Is it decided by school or how they run their food program? Or thank you.
Brittany Malley for the record, Department of Agriculture. So it depends on the school. It's the same thing. It's not like at one school, some kids have a card, some kids have a PIN number. Their PIN number is usually on their card, and it's just like a bar scanner. It's just easier. Usually the little kids use it because they can't remember their PINs yet. Same system depending on the school and what they want to use.
Okay, one quick question. So just to follow up to that so that I clearly understand. So would a whole school have pins and then a whole school would use cards, or is it maybe by age or group, or they just kind of determine based on the student?
Correct, by age or group. Usually as the kids get older, they can remember their PIN numbers, and it's easier and quicker for them to just put that into like a little touchpad.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Assemblyman O'Neill.
And as we get really older, we need the card again, I think. Thank you for allowing me the question, Chair. Assemblywoman Howdy, and I forget the young lady's name from Agriculture.
Ms. Malley.
I truly understand and support the free lunch program for those that cannot afford, and understand the value that it adds to their education system, their ability to learn, if they aren't hungry. My concern is, and since you had said that really you get a card, you don't know if you're entitled for a free lunch or you could afford to pay for it. I'm just trying to think of, as we look at money spent in education, if those that can afford go ahead and pay for their lunches, what that money that's now going to their free program could be utilized in other educational programs to support those children and support the programs that are in the poverty level. Because there are other expenses, even in extracurriculars, that it could go over to that. There's other usage. I just have an issue with those that can afford getting a free lunch. So could you explain the value? Everything that was said by the woman down in Las Vegas was all in support of those in the poverty level. She never said one benefit of those in the above poverty level, why we should supply that free lunch with them, and even the statement of assumption. I can't deal with assumptions. We can't help that at all. We cannot legislate what someone may assume. If you could help me, please.
Assemblywoman, could you move your mic closer? Thank you.
Assemblywoman Sandra Howdy for the record. There are many families that may be misqualifying by just a bit for free and reduced lunch programs, right? And so it's helping those families send their kids who maybe can go to school with a lunch, but maybe not a breakfast. And one of the benefits of the program too, it's not just providing the meal, it's the type of meal. So many of our schools in our urban areas live in food deserts. Many of them in the rural areas do too. And so a lot of those kids, when they maybe do have meals, they're not eating the most nutritious meals. And what the free breakfast and lunch program does is make sure that these students aren't just getting food, but that they're getting a well-balanced meal, right? Even if they can afford the lunch, right? But it's not going to be the healthiest lunch. Here they're getting a well-balanced lunch that leads to, I think, one of the most important things, which is improved classroom performance. We want to set our students up for success, and studies show that having a well-balanced breakfast and lunch improves classroom performance for students. I'm going to see if Ms. Everett has anything she wants to add, Chairman Moreno. I forget that she's down there because she's not sitting up here, so I don't want to leave her out as well.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I think just the one piece, Gabby Everett, sorry, with 3 Square, that I would touch on, Assemblyman, is that in the piece where I was talking about the fact that current federal programming and kind of the standards that they operate by and the federal, like the poverty level that they set for folks to qualify for this doesn't really factor in that there are a lot of other socioeconomic factors at play. So it strictly just looks at, okay, this is your income level, therefore you either qualify or don't. But it's not looking at the other facts, right? That if folks are spending a lot more on their cost of living, so if rent is much higher for them, or pieces like that, the feds have strictly looked at their income levels and said you either qualify or don't. And so even if those other pieces are burdensome for them, if they're just outside that threshold, once universal school meals go away, they're now going to have to pay for each of those. So I think that from our perspective is one of those pieces of how others could be benefiting from this.
If I may, I agree with the policy for those in the poverty or that below level. But I will tell you, as a single parent, I sent my children, and maybe I took it wrong, and I'm sure you didn't mean it, but I provided good meals for my children every day when they went to school, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I just think that that money could be utilized, redirected to some of the other educational programs. That's the one issue I have with this, is just I believe that person earning $200,000, we've actually got people that earn several $100,000 a year. I do believe that they can supply decent lunches, breakfasts for their children, and that money saved could be redirected. So that's just, you still haven't educated me enough onto that need. So I do appreciate it, and I thank you for the time, Chair.
Thank you so much. Seeing no other questions, Assemblywoman and co-presenters, I'd like to thank you so much for presenting this bill. During the interim, we as a body made a policy decision that we wanted our children to be fed. We saw that families, as we worked through the pandemic, lived through the pandemic, needed a little extra help, and there was federal dollars to do that. I appreciate you taking the opportunity to look at how we can continue that to feed our kids, because the other educational programs that are going on in our schools won't be successful if our children are hungry. I don't care what economic situation that their families are in. So thank you so much for this policy, and I'll ask you to step back, and we'll invite those to the table that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 319. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Moreno and committee. For the record, my name is Caitlin Gatchalian, Caitlin Gatchalian, and I'm the Government Relations Director for the American Heart Association. First, I would like to thank Majority Leader Sandra Jauregui for sponsoring this bill. On behalf of the American Heart Association, I would like to support AB 319. In 2019, pre-pandemic, each day, nearly 30 million students received their midday meals through the National School Lunch Program, and more than 14 million students received their morning meals through the school breakfast program. These numbers include all participating children, free, reduced price, and full price. There are many benefits of free school meals for all. Universal school meals helps to 1. Recognize that meals are just as important as textbooks for students' academic success. 2. Remove stigma and increases participation among students who are already eligible for school meals. 3. Help students who fall through the cracks and don't qualify because of increased cost of living. And 4. Relieves the administrative burden on the school districts and families. The American Heart Association believes all children should have access to quality, nutritious school meals. Nutritious school meals help to combat unhealthy weight and poor cardiovascular health, as well as establish a foundation for a lifetime of healthy behaviors, reduce the risk of diseases, and support cognitive development and academic success. Ending child hunger is something everyone can and should agree on. Please support AB 319. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, committee. My name is Shane Piccinini, ShanePiccinini. I represent the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. I would like to take this opportunity to again thank all of you for the work that you have done during the interim in making sure that Nevada was one of 5 states that provided universal free lunch to their students during the pandemic. Nevada was a leader across the country in making sure that our students got access to the nutrition that they required. And I fully support AB 319. I thank the majority leader for bringing this bill forward. It's worth noting that the Food Bank of Northern Nevada is currently serving 137,000 people every single month. What Universal Free Lunch is doing is assisting the food banks in being able to provide additional support to the families as the pandemic EBT benefits had gone away back in April. So we have spent a lot of time talking about the gap that the pandemic EBT expiration has created in the food safety net. This bill right here is a critical step in ensuring that Nevada families are getting exactly the support that they need. Additionally, I would like to say that I would like to see Nevada become, continue its leadership role in making universal free lunch permanent. This is a program that is well worth the investment. We've got 3 years of history behind us to demonstrate how effective it is. And, since March of 2020, the Food Bank of Northern Nevada has worked with the Department of Agriculture and the United States Department of Agriculture to ensure that the school districts in Nevada had the flexibilities that were required in order to make sure that the families' needs were being met. This bill right here continues the hard work that we put into this effort over the last 3 years. So it is with my heartfelt thanks that I give you for the support that you've given us, and I ask you to please continue to support not only the work of the food bank, but the work of the school districts to ensure that everybody's needs are met at the most critical time that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Adler, today representing the Charter School Association of Nevada. But I am also glad to share with you that I was an inaugural member of the Governor's Council on Food Security established during the Sandoval administration. And the first thing we did was pass SB 3 in the 2017 session, which is what is called Breakfast After the Bell, to make breakfast fully available to students. And it has been extremely positive for our student education. To speak to what Assemblywoman Anderson said about Maslow's pyramid, that starts with shelter. And so census data shows that there's a correlation between housing instability and food security, families suffering those, and anxiety and depression. And so by alleviating the food risk piece of this, we just help our kids be learners. And I'll close by saying, sharing the words of Tammy Stockton, who's the founder of High Desert Montessori School, which serves low-income families primarily in Northeast Reno. When this pandemic assistance arrived, she said, it transformed the school. So we appreciate the majority leader and all of you for urge your support of AB 319. Thank you.
Good morning,
Good morning, Chairwoman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is B.B. Adams, B-E-B-E-A-D-A-M-S, and I'm representing the Nevada Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs, and I'm joining you today to testify in support of AB 319. The Nevada Alliance operates 74 clubhouses based in community facilities and schools in urban and rural settings throughout Nevada. Of these 74 clubhouses, 33 are housed in schools, and these include elementary, middle, charter, and faith-based. Over 22,000 youth and teens participate in the club statewide. Annually, we serve over 400,000 meals and 220,000 snacks, finding that our youth often arrive at our programs hungry and are facing little to no food when they arrive home in the evening. AB 319 is the right step towards ensuring youth are not burdened with the distraction of hunger during their school day, leading to better academic performance, positive peer connections over meal times, and healthier communities. We thank the minority leader for this bill and look forward to future conversations to expand meal and snack services during the critical out-of-school time hours with key youth development services such as the Boys and Girls Clubs. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 319? Seeing none. Is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 319? Seeing none. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 319?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 319, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chris Bailey, Nevada State Education Association, the voice of Nevada educators for over 120 years. NSCA supports AB 319 to fund universal free school meals in Nevada. As reported by the National Education Association, free and nutritious meals for all students have many benefits. School meals support student learning. Students who participate in school meals have improved attendance, behavior, academic performance, and achievement. Research has clearly demonstrated the link between school meals and student success, which is especially important now as schools and educators continue to combat the loss of learning opportunity during the COVID-19 pandemic. School meals promote healthy eating habits. Students who participate in school meal programs consume breakfast and lunches with higher nutritional quality and are more likely to eat fruits and vegetables. School meals improve health outcomes. Participation in school breakfast and lunch programs are associated with lower body mass index, lower probability of being overweight, and a lower likelihood of obesity. Providing school meals for all improves efficiency. School meals cost less per student when more students participate in a free meal program. One study found that schools that participated in the universal meal program spent 67 and 58 cents less per lunch and breakfast, respectively, while maintaining the same nutritional quality. Finally, providing school meals for all keeps the focus on nutrition and students. Free meals for all students means food service workers can focus exclusively on preparing and serving healthy, nutritious meals for our students without having to worry about unpaid meal debt collection and burdensome paperwork. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits 020, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno and committee. My name is Tara Raines, T-A-R-A-R-A-I-N-E-S, and I'm calling on behalf of the Children's Advocacy Alliance in support of AB 319. Thank you for making the decision to initiate this program during the pandemic and for considering the continuation of the program. As was previously noted, proper nutrition, especially in the morning, has a significant impact on children's cognitive function and academic performance. Studies have shown that children who eat a nutritious breakfast tend to have improved attention span, memory, problem-solving skills, and overall academic achievement. Hunger and malnutrition can affect a child's mood, behavior, and emotional well-being. Providing regular meals, including breakfast and lunch, helps stabilize blood sugar levels and ensures children have energy and nutrients needed for emotional regulation and overall mental health. Meals at school provide an opportunity for children to socialize and develop important social skills. Eating together promotes social interactions, communication, and the development of teamwork and sharing. Finally, for many children, especially those from low-income families, school meals may be their most reliable and nutritious source of food. Breakfast and lunch programs in schools help address food security and help address food insecurity and ensure that children receive at least 2 healthy meals each day. Overall, providing children with breakfast and lunch well-being and academic success. The Children's Advocacy Alliance overwhelmingly 319, and we are grateful this matter has been brought forward and appreciate your support for the children and families of Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sheila Bray with the University of Nevada, Reno. We would like to extend our support for AB 319 and just echo many of the comments before us from both the presenters and those in testimony of support. One particular program I want to highlight that would support this would be our H&N, our Health and Nutrition program through UNR Extension. We deliver education on healthy eating, physical activity throughout our Nevada schools and in lunchrooms and classrooms, and we can see this firsthand, the benefits of providing healthy, nutritious, and access to for these meals to all Nevada students. Second, as the previous testimony mentioned, President Sandoval of UNR, previous governor, has started the Nevada Council on Food Insecurity, and out of that highlighted this particular need for food access in schools. So all around, this is a great program that provides access to nutrition for our students and it helps them to be most successful, so we fully support. Thank you.
Thank you. BPS, do we have any other callers?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Maria Teresa Lieberman Tarraga, MARIA-TERESALIEBERMANN-PARRAGA, and I'm the Deputy Director of Battleborn Progress here in support of AB 319, not just because our organization supports it, but I was a kid who benefited from these programs, especially when my family was going through very tough times and my mom was working 2 jobs and it was still not enough, and I needed to have access to this program, and this program frankly saved my health, sanity, and life in school, and actually all of those benefits that we have heard from all of the experts and the sponsor are things that I saw directly, and we need to ensure that all kids in Nevada have access to this program because we never know when a kid is going to need it. So please pass AB 319. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to the position of opposition. If there's anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition for Assembly Bill 319, please step up to the table. If there's anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition, I invite you to step up to the table now. We're going to start here in Carson City.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Janine Hansen. I'm the state president of Nevada Families for Freedom. This is a lot of money, 43 million tax dollars. It's not the responsibility of the government to feed our children. It's a parental responsibility, and this usurps that. One of the reasons that parents can't afford to feed their children is because of the high cost of government. According to the Institute for Policy Innovation in the United States, the total tax burden, including federal, state, and local and hidden taxes, is equal to 56% of annual personal consumption spending. 56% is more than a person spends on housing, food, health care, transportation, education, and recreation. How can people possibly take care of themselves with the high cost of government? To continue to increase government spending is irresponsible. Spend less, lower taxes, and families can take care of themselves. The Noah Webster Educational Foundation, in reviewing federal programs for breakfast and lunch, said it's no secret that nearly anything government is involved in ends up with mishandled finances, unnecessary costs, and inefficiency. The current federal school meal programs are plagued with these issues. According to the Office of Management and Budget, the National School Lunch Program lost nearly $8 million owing to improper payments because of misspending. School lunch is a prime example of the inefficiency of these types of federal programs. The Niskian Center states, according to the spending and participation figures from OMB and the USDA respectively, costs have continued to rise despite the fact the total number of students in the program has declined. Another program is that previous research shows that there is tremendous food waste in the public schools and it's substantial in magnitude and value. Please protect our families, don't increase the cost of government, and lower taxes so we can feed our own kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else here in Carson City that'd like to provide testimony in opposition and not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 319?
If you would like to testify in opposition on Assembly Bill 319, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Chapman, and I'm State Treasurer of the Independent American Party. Noah Webster Education Foundation did an evaluation of the National School Lunch Program, and they found the Heritage Foundation pointed out in the current program, according to the Office of Management and Budget, the National School Program lost nearly $800 million owing to improper payments in fiscal year 2018, while the School Breakfast Program lost $300 million. The Office of Management and Budget calls these programs high-priority programs because of misspending, unquote. According to the USDA School Nutrition and Meal Cost Study, the average school meal program operates at a slight deficit. The study also found the reported cost of offering school meals generally exceeds the federal reimbursements allotted for those meals. It doesn't appear that the country in general can afford to provide free school meals to all students regardless of their qualifying status. According to one PMC study, an estimated $1.2 billion worth of school food is wasted each year. Skeptics of free meals for all school children fear that waste will only continue to rise if universally free school meals are an option. A Cambridge University press study appears to support those concerns. Quote, U.S. public schools, which serve 7.4 billion meals to more than 30 million children, represent a prime target for food waste reduction. Previous research suggests that food waste in U.S. public schools is substantial in magnitude and value as school breakfast program participation continues to increase and universal free school meal programs expand. Total food waste in such programs is expected to rise, unquote. Whether federal dollars or state dollars, it all comes from the taxpayers. The program is not free. This is a bad idea for all taxpayers. Vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Hello, my name is Michael Ryan, Michaelryan. I'm a longtime resident of Nevada and a Marine Corps veteran. Please oppose AB 319, Universal Free Breakfast and Lunch for All Children in School Paid for Taxpayers. We do not want the government spending $43 million or $100 million tax dollars on government free breakfasts and lunches. Instead of more government spending, cut taxes and encourage parents to take responsibility for their own children. That is their job. Please vote no on AB 319. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good morning, everyone. CYRUS HOJJATY. I oppose this bill along with the previous. I believe this bill will encourage not so responsible behavior. It will encourage more low-income people to have children that they cannot afford. That's the argument about the welfare system. Not to mention, it will encourage poor family structure. This is one of the reasons why we have such a desire for this program. This will mean more taxpayer funds funneling to this program, and it will mean less economic activity coming from others who are not participating. In addition, a lot of these funds, like I've heard, are coming from the federal government, which means the money is created out of nothing through high deficit spending from the Federal Reserve. Another issue is that the folks who will disproportionately use this will be children of illegal immigrants, which is one of the reasons why we have such a high demand, and not to mention we have a border crisis. My question is, what kind of food is going to be provided? Is the food going to be organic? Is it going to be produced at a higher standard? Or will the food be infected with GMOs and other toxic ingredients like we've had for decades? How can we prove necessarily that these families are low income? Not to mention, why do we have such a demand? Why do we have such low incomes? Aren't there other ways to reduce income inequality in this country, such as the fact that CEOs of many companies headquartered in the state make 500 times than the typical employee? There's other measures that can be done. More importantly, can you tell us whether these efforts of the so-called pandemic actually work, and did they actually meet the goals that they were supposed to do? Other than that, I urge you not to support this bill, or at least have a 6-month program to see how it goes, and we can go for a review. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. We will move to the position of neutral. If there's anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in the neutral on Assembly Bill 319, I invite you to step up to the table. If there's anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in the neutral position, I also invite you to step up to the table. And we'll start here in Carson City. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. Barry Cole, B-A-R-R-Y, Cole, C-O-L-E. Retired psychiatrist, but curiously also a Boy Scout leader, which taught me a lot. And the reason I bring this up is that children are far more attentive to each other's behaviors than I think adults appreciate. They know who got 2 cookies and that they only got 1. They looked at the size of his ice cream scoop and looked at theirs. They kept track of how many pancakes someone got by going through the line multiple times. There is an interesting observation here. Skip Maslow, Piaget, Freud, whoever you want. Kids know what each other are doing, and what there could be an interesting observation is that if everybody eats the same meal, if everyone interacts together, there's opportunities to lessen discrimination. Kids won't be able to tell he's poor, I'm not. At Atascadero State Hospital in California, the way they work with severely mentally ill people is they integrate them into meals with a social skills trainer. That person teaches them, you don't say salt, you say please pass the salt. This can be an interesting opportunity for education, socialization, perhaps reducing social tension. An unintended consequence, but maybe an interesting consequence. So I hope that consideration will be given for all of the things we've heard today, but then think of the unexpected benefits.
Thank you so much for that. Is there anyone else here that would like to testify in the position of neutral? Seeing none and not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone lines that would like to testify in the position of neutral?
If you would like to testify neutral on Assembly Bill 319, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair and other members of the committee. My name is Dawn Matus, and I am the Public Policy Coordinator for the Nevada Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. As nutrition professionals, we have a vested interest in providing adequate nutrition to children through the provision of school meals. Since their inception, school meal programs have improved the health and well-being of school children simply by providing meals to those who may not otherwise have them. For many of these children, school meals are the only meals they receive each day. I echo the statements of others regarding the benefits of school meals.
In addition, I would like to call attention to why these programs were created in the first place. The National School Lunch Program was created in 1946, partly as a national security measure. The Great Depression had wreaked havoc on the health of our nation's children, and the long-term effects of malnutrition rendered many young men unfit for service during World War II. Policy leaders at the time recognized the need for a stable program that provided lunches in schools, and the National School Lunch Program was born. 20 years later, the School Breakfast Program was created. Today, we are facing the same national security dilemma, only the pendulum has swung the other way. The long-term effects of obesity and other chronic diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular disease are leaving many young men and women unfit for service. These diet-related diseases are showing up in our children more frequently due to the nation's overall eating habits. However, school meals are held to a higher standard in that they must meet the dietary guidelines for Americans in almost all categories. For instance, there is a limit to the amount of saturated fat, sodium, and sugar each meal may contain. In addition to limiting certain nutrients, school meals must also include minimum amounts of nutritious foods like whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. Overall, school meals are the healthiest meals children consume throughout the day. Not only do school meals provide nutrition, but they also teach nutrition to our students. As such, school meals are a crucial part of the health and well-being of Nevada's children, and we thank you for considering this important piece of legislation.
Thank you so much. BPS, do we have any other callers?
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. Any closing remarks?
Yes, Chair, thank you, if I could. Committee, we have all spoken at length about our commitment to improve education. This program improves classroom performance, it decreases chronic absenteeism, it improves student behavior in the classroom, improving our education system overall. The USDA says that 1 in 6 children in America face food insecurity. This isn't a political issue for me. This is about our responsibility to our children and giving them every opportunity and tool to have the most successful education that they can. I want to thank Gabby Everett with 3 Square and Brittany Malley with the Nevada Department of Agriculture for being here and being on the ground to administer these programs and to help answer all of the technical questions that I couldn't. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 319, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 428.
Good morning again, Chair Monroe Marino and members of the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means. My name is Shay Backus, and I represent Assembly District 37, and I'm happy to come before you along with Mr. Dan Stewart to present Assembly Bill 428 this morning. Over the course of this session, we have regularly been reminded of the severe educator vacancy crisis. AB 428 provides a significant investment in a transformative program to help Nevada address this vacancy crisis for years to come by home growing our educators right here in Nevada. Prior to diving into the cost of the program, I would like to provide a high-level overview of the architecture of this bill and the intent behind it. AB 428 offers high schoolers in Nevada a roadmap to directed learning, dual credits, a degree, no student debt, and a job as a teacher in Nevada. The program will be offered to high school freshmen in all high schools in Clark County. This is the only way that we can begin to recruit and develop the diversity we need reflected in our educators. High school freshmen will be recruited and told that if they complete the program in high school, they will not only earn 12 credit unions, but they will also be eligible for admission at any Nevada institution of higher learning to study education. During high school, these students will be assessed regularly for any types of barriers, especially social economic barriers, to their completing the program. To the extent any such barriers exist, the program will help identify and provide wraparound services necessary to help these students succeed. After high school, if the students then complete the program in higher education and graduate, they will be offered a teaching job in a Nevada school district. If they teach for 3 years, all of the college tuition that was not otherwise covered will be abated through payments from the treasurer's office. With this bill, we will not only be helping to fix our vacancy crisis in a real and meaningful way, but we will also be helping countless young Nevadans potentially find a rewarding career as a Nevada educator. They will have a vision for the future that includes tailored education, a debt-free degree, and a job at the end. This is truly an investment in Nevadans and Nevada's future. Both NSHE and so I'm going to now turn into the finances and kind of talk about it because you probably have a lot of fiscal notes before you and where we are with the fiscal notes. And it's also because of amendments to the program. But both NSHE and GOED are removing their fiscal notes. With that, though, we have a fiscal note for Dieter that reflects the startup cost of the program for fiscal year 24 of $289,026 and in fiscal year 25, $331,870. That biennium is much higher, but the future biennium, there's an anticipated that the cost would be $413,740. Likewise, and we don't have this in front of us, I don't believe, we got an email from Nevada Department of Education reflecting what their fiscals would be for that, and I'll say these slowly. So for fiscal year 24, NDE anticipates $198,591 for that first fiscal year. The second fiscal year, FY 25, they anticipate the cost would be $229,220. That'd be 229,220. And then likewise, the future biennia for them is anticipated to actually go up a little higher to $492,823. So that's 492,823. Likewise, we do have a fiscal note from Clark County School District in the amount of $12,800,000, but we actually anticipate that likely will be slightly higher with salary adjustments. Lastly, there hasn't been a fiscal note put in, but our amendment includes a $10 million appropriation for the Treasurer's Office, and we don't believe that there will be any budgetary fiscal note from the Treasurer's Office for the investment of these funds. And those are the funds that would go directly to the educators' reimbursement for college expenses. So basically, at the end of the day, we do believe that the total will be about $26,600,000 to cover the startup of our Grow Our Own Educator pipeline in Nevada. I will turn this presentation now over to Mr. Stewart, who will discuss the amendment that is before each of you.
Thank you, Chair, members of Ways and Means. It's good to be here. My name is Daniel Stewart. I'm here on behalf of the Clark County Education Association. And I did want to walk through the amendment that was submitted by sponsor because I think it will address some of the concerns that have come up since the bill was passed out of revenue, and also reflects, I think, what was a really good working partnership with the Nevada Department of Education. And I hope maybe even pre-address some of the concerns you may have in your, you may be thinking right now. So to begin, we do make it clear, I'm going to start with part 2 on there. It talks where the Nevada Treasurer will receive the $10 million, and that'll go into an interest-bearing account. We don't anticipate graduates of this program to qualify. If you start talking about years in high school, years in college, and then years of teaching, we're probably 5, 6, 7 years away from the first students being eligible for this. So the idea is that this is the seed funding to get this going, and like I said, an interest-bearing account. If you see the green in part 1, the number 1 on the bullet, one of the things the treasurer asked us, and we think it's a good idea actually. I think it helps the program. They often like to, when they do these types of programs, rather than doing it all or nothing, so after 3 years they pay everything, that they get a third each year that they teach. So the 3 years is is what they ultimately have to put in to get the entire. But it's not like if they have a family crisis or something after year 2, it's not like all of a sudden they owe everything. So they'll get every year that they work in those 3 years at least a third of what they owe. Now these are last dollar scholarships. So one of the things that's in the bill and the reprint is that NSHE and K through 12 and NDE, we're really going to be working on the wraparound services, and one of those things is identifying college readiness, identifying what universities they might be, or community colleges, or now Nevada State University, which ones they are going to be eligible for, and help them apply for whatever additional scholarship funds they might be available, whether it be Millennium or whatnot. So this is meant to be a last dollar to make sure whatever's outstanding once they graduate, they have no student debts after that. So that amendment is there to pay in thirds. Numbers 3 and 4, discussing work-based learning. I know this has been a topic quite a bit in this session, especially in the education committees. Where this came from is, although we're talking about the teacher pipeline right now, the educator pipeline, because it's probably our most urgent crisis, the goal is that this becomes, in some respects, a plug-and-play model for all types of workforce development, or we're talking about trades or engineers or computer scientists, in the sense that our K through 12 and our higher ed are not only aligned on providing the education, but they're also aligned with state needs as this body starts identifying where we're going to need these jobs of the future. And so because Goen is actually, the program's going to be housed in Goen, but when it comes to the educator piece, the NDE is going to be administering the teacher part. But if we start getting in the future, if this becomes a success and we start doing engineers and so forth, Goen will then take that on. And so that's why we wanted to allow them to have the ability to work with NDE on work-based learning programs. My understanding is a lot of this already exists and is already done, and I will continue discussions with NDE on that. The next, part 5, just a couple of clarifications that we got from the Nevada Department of Education. One, we wanted to move it so that freshmen are eligible to be part of the program. Initially, we had it so they got recruited as freshmen, then they started as juniors. But now, by adding 4-year programs, it might add a little bit more flexibility on the number of years that they take in order to complete the program. We also added at least 250 students, although this only applies to Clark. There may be some rural high schools that might be inconvenient. So we put the 250 student cap. The next point down, if you get where you see the line about, it'd be 2C, when it talks about, again, this mentions that they're going to be assessed prior to entering high school. And then I do need to make one clarification. The next line, because there was some stuff that was, and we can get this in, but I want to explain it. Stuff that was deleted here that wasn't meant to be deleted. When it talks about who is interested in participating in the program, identifying barriers. In the current reprint, it talks about academic, socioeconomic, and others. This one wanted to expand and make it more broader, but we want to make sure we're not limiting it because some of the language was taken out. This is including but not limited to academic, success, financial, and transportation. I think what this will look like once we merge them will be including, not limited to, academic, socioeconomic, financial, and transportation barriers to the participation in. So we'll get that cleaned up, but that's where that amendment came from. And then as we get down to part 3 of bullet point 5, we had a lot of concerns and a lot of real genuine questions about why are we not making this statewide. And we feel like we're making steps to make it statewide. The fear is that we're already shooting pretty big in mandating it and being in all Nevada, or all Clark County high schools. I think that's 49 schools. And the fear was if we try to do too much too fast, it might not work. However, by putting NDE in charge of the program, we also are going to have a few things in these amendments that I think will start opening the door to this being a statewide. First, other districts may offer this. And if they do, and some might already be offering things like this, the other districts may offer this. And if they do, and the and the program meets the same criteria that's being offered, they will then be eligible for the tuition abatements as well. So if they graduate from a Washoe school district because they have a career teacher pipeline academy at, say, I'll use my arch enemy, Worcester High School. Let's say that Worcester High School has a program that would meet all the requirements, and they graduate, and then they attend the schools. They will be entitled to all the benefits. It won't be Clark County graduates as well. Additionally, NDE will be in charge of the curriculum, making sure that so that they can set statewide curriculum on this CTE program, so that all the schools are doing it in the same way. Lastly, and we wanted to be clear with NDE, and we're not trying to supplant the programs that they already have. Like if they already have teachers there. So the very last thing in 5, it says the teacher and training CTE programs, they shall be. So if they've already got a full-time teacher there, all that's going to need to change is programming change as part of that. They're not going to need to hire a new teacher and then have 2 competing programs in the high school. So that's it for the amendments, and I guess we're open to any questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I did have a few questions, and you may have addressed them in the amendment. My first one was, what would be the revenue source to provide the reimbursements for tuition that, as listed in section 1.5 of the bill, but I believe in your amendment, number 2, would that be that $10 million that would be going to the treasurer's office?
Yes, Daniel Stewart, to you, Chair. Yes, that would be correct.
And then follow up to that, 10 million sounds like a lot, but in the in the scheme of things, it really isn't. Now that I sit in this position, how would that be replenished? Would this fund be able to take donations, gifts, things, or would this be included in the treasurer's base budget moving forward?
Daniel Stewart, for the record, the expectation would be there are no limits on how it could be replenished. I do think that because we're still years away from when we'd see this, I'd like to see what the 10 million looks like 6 years from now, and then you're looking at a few, certain students each year. There'll probably be a request, if it's a successful program, will probably be a request like the Millennium Scholarship to seek additional funding from the legislature as well.
And then also Shay Backus, for the record. I do want to add on that. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it would be a good idea to also include in our amendment that the Treasurer's Office with this program be permitted to accept any gifts, grants, the traditional language we see. I think that's a great idea that we should probably include in our amendment.
Thank you. And then my next question, which may have also been addressed in your amendment, what's the estimated cost for these proposed reimbursements over the 23-25 biennium?
Daniel Stewart, for the record, just to clarify, the reimbursements for the next 2 years? So to clarify, we do not believe there will be any reimbursements for the next 2 years. Let's say we allow a college freshman to be eligible now. I think even though they didn't do the high school, let's say we let them, that's 4 years of college, and then they start getting a third of that in their first year of work, after their first year of work. So I think 5 years out would be the earliest somebody would be. 9 years? 9 years would be the first time they're eligible.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Hadigi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer my question then, because 9 years out is a pretty far time, and I don't know if the cost of tuition will be the same. I haven't been in college in a very long time, and so I'm sure the cost of tuition is a lot higher now. But can you project what that average reimbursement is going to be in 9 years for someone who's eligible?
Yes, Daniel Stewart, for the record. The last projections we looked at is assuming a very conservative that they're eligible for scholarships. Now, keep in mind, we're almost exclusively talking about in-state students in in-state schools, some of which may be attending, different schools with different expenses. We went with the highest one. My understanding is you're looking at about $28,000 for their reimbursement. But again, that doesn't include the additional scholarships that they may be able to get as Millennium and so forth as part of that.
That just answered my second question. Would they be eligible for Millennium and tuition reimbursement? they would be able to participate in both programs.
Yes, Daniel Stewart for the record. Like I said, this is a last dollar scholarship. This is meant to clean up whatever other scholarships aren't already covering.
And Madam Chair, if I could, one last question. Thank you. And then my last question is, I know that the appropriation request is for $10 million this year, but you're saying that the first payments aren't going to go out for another 9 years. And in the amendment, it's allowing the treasurer to put these $10 million in an interest-bearing account. Are those interest dollars that will be earned going to stay within the program to be used for the program solely for the purposes? Because $10 million earning interest over the next 10 years is going to be a lot of money, and I want to make sure that they're going to stay there. And I want to make sure that, do you guys have an idea of how much is going to be earned? Because this has just expanded the program significantly, which is a good thing.
I've invited the treasurer's phone a friend up to the table to answer that question.
Eric Jimenez with the Treasurer's Office. Thank you for that question, Majority Leader, as I've been calculating that in my head for the last 30 minutes. We took a model on compounded interest based on the 1-year Treasury benchmark, which is about 5.02% or 502 basis points. We expect, assuming the market could change, but with the $10 million investment, that would increase from 6 years to about $13.4 million. In 9 years, $15.6 million. And that's the importance of putting it in an interest-bearing account.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't leave the table. There may be more questions for you. We're going to go to Assemblywoman Anderson and then Assemblywoman Brown-May.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you again for the conversations we've had about this issue, and then also Assemblymember Bacchus. My first question, actually, I think was kind of alluded to in the last one. It has to do with how would you help the students that are currently in CTE programs in schools? I believe there are 18 in Clark, and I know there's one in Washoe. It is not Worcester High School, sorry. It is the Academy. But just wondering how that would help, or would they be like, well, we're not part of this first class, so that's just the way life goes. Has there been any discussion about the students that are currently in the CTE programs?
Daniel Stewart for the record. Yes, there have been discussions. That's where there was somewhat of a back and forth about whether it'd be 5 years or 9 years. I think there will be some discussion, especially if they're coming into the senior year and it looks like they would have they've done the 12 credits already, and it looks like they're eligible. I think there is a possibility that at that point they could accelerate into the 5 years.
Thank you. So maybe that could be in regs or something like that with the discussions with NDE. So that's the first. And then the second, recognize what you just stated about it being for the large school district. And also understanding, being part of the policy committee that heard this, that it is an attempt to try to diversify the education world, which is very important, and I think we desperately need it. Could you expand, though, on the statement that it opens the door to statewide items? Because we've got a teacher shortage in every county. It's not just the one.
Yes, great question. Daniel Stewart for the record. So first of all, the students that not only come from these other districts that are eligible for the tuition, you're eligible for the abatement if you serve in any district in the state of Nevada. So it could be a Las Vegas student that goes to the University of Nevada, Reno, and then teaches in Washoe County, and that would all be part of the same. Where I meant open the door is to the extent this looks successful, and we think it will be, but it is already a rapid scale up. To the extent this looks successful, there are no objections, at least on our part, and we want that's why we wanted the partnership with the Department of Education. As they set the curriculum, as they set this, they go, okay, now we're going to move into these other high schools. Granted, there'll be additional costs at that, but we'll have a much better expectation of what that looks like.
Or, I don't know if it's clarify or comment. I really think that, so the people that are attending an academy in Washoe County or in Nye County or in Elko County, they would not be eligible then for their credit, the reimbursement that is mentioned am I understanding that correctly? It is only Clark County graduates of CTE programs, or am I misunderstanding that section?
Yeah, Daniel Stewart for the record, I'm glad you asked that. No, it would be graduates of any of the CTE programs that otherwise meet the requirements in any county in the state would be eligible.
Thank you so much. That takes away a large concern that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Brown-May.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I just have a clarifying question. Some of our students who are in college currently are employed in our school districts working as interventionists or are alternatively licensed. So they're working while they're continuing to pursue their teacher licensing. How does this interplay with that? Would they need to complete and graduate and get a license for Nevada before they're able to participate in this program?
Thank you, Assemblywoman Brown-May, through Chair Monroe Marino. Shea Backus for the record. And the question you're kind of asking, let's kind of, and I don't know if it's future, like as if they've already started the high school part. So if they've already, and this was on my bad because I'm a numbers person and I get fixated on how much it's going to cost every year. And I just assume people would go, 4 years to high school, 4 years to college, just because when doing the math. But in all reality, we had this discussion in the policy committee, and the reason why we want to start early with like any barriers or any addressing any concerns is there's not a traditional pathway to 4 years. And so the program is not intended to mandate that someone finishes college in 4 years, but also more importantly, what the bill also provides for is what we are hoping for is when students are in their college years, that they are also able to be paraprofessionals and be in the classroom as well as during high school. One thing I didn't touch on my overview is that they can also be doing internships at nearby elementary schools or middle schools to get them already in the classroom. And so that we have a pathway to long-time teachers, educators in our community, just because they've always been there and it's a comfortable place. And so it's kind of like a full, well-rounded program.
Yes, and Daniel Stewart, the record, to Assemblywoman Brown-May through the chair. One of the things too is we don't anticipate, or we're not trying to make this, at least right now, the only pipeline option. I know there's other bills you're considering this session. There's other programs already in place, especially for people that are paraprofessionals and so forth. This is not meant to supplant that or take this away. This is really meant to set up a program that's long range, where we understand that there's really only two ways to grow to get out of a vacancy crisis. You can go to the market, which is compete with all the other states in the United States, and given the way Nevada is, our structure is, and all that, we're probably, and sometimes trying to get people to come live in places like Las Vegas can be hard, and so we're not often competitive in the market. So that means the only other way we're going to do it is grow them at home. And so this is meant to be a long-range vision from high school to job. And I know there's a lot of more immediate programs going on right now for people that are currently working to help them get where they need to.
Thank you. As the proud mama of a student teacher and paraprofessional currently in our school district, I appreciate the flexibility that we can develop into a lot of our programming so that we can encourage our student teachers who are interested in pursuing this long term and still allow them the opportunity to pay their rent while they're going to school, right? And so I think the opportunity to have paid internships or paid as paraprofessionals while they can still access this kind of program would just further helps our young really come into the education system and stay there long term. I appreciate your work on this. Thank you.
Members, any other questions? All right, seeing none, I thank you all for your presentation, and I will invite to the table anyone that is here that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 428. Good morning.
Good morning, Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Marie Nisus. I'm the president of CCEA, speaking in strong support of Assembly Bill 428. It's no secret that we are currently facing an educator vacancy crisis in Nevada. We do not have the capacity to grow the next generation of educators without creating the kind of pipeline that AB 428 represents. To put at the scale of the crisis in perspective, over the next decade, we will need 14,000 new teachers and new educators in Clark County alone. Statewide, that will be 19,000. The problem is not simply a problem of recruitment, it's also a problem of retention. As of May 1st, from the start of the current school year, CCSD hired 2,100 educators, but during that same time period, we also lost another 1,200 educators. That leaves us with nearly 1,400 vacancies remaining as we close out the school year, with more than 1,100 of those being in hard-to-fill positions. That equates to more than 30,000 students in CCSD without a licensed educator in the classroom, and these trends are only growing. Through the existing CCSD Teacher CTE program and the number of annual graduates from NSHE entering the profession, we are not producing enough new educators to address our vacancy crisis. We need to build this pipeline so we can fill these positions with homegrown Nevada educators who reflect the diversity of our communities and are invested in our communities. AB 428 is an ambitious bill, but this moment requires us to be ambitious if we are serious about ending the crisis of preparing all of our students for the future by connecting K through 12 with a higher education as a model for workforce development. We can meet this moment and set our state up for success across the board moving forward. Thank you, and we urge your support for AB 428.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Alejandro Rodriguez with the Nevada System of Higher Education, and she's in support of AB 428, and as the bill presenter mentioned, the other teacher pipeline bills that are currently in the legislature as well. We'd like to thank Assemblywoman Backus and the bill presenter for working with us on language that did allow us to remove the fiscal note. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Anthony Ruiz with Nevada State College. We are in strong support of this bill. Happy to support this in the policy committee. Had a chance to review the amendment. I like the amendment, particularly the parts that move certain provisions to go in, as well as allowing the students to start in as early as 9th grade. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman Monroe Moreno and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Nick Schneider, representing the Vegas Chamber, and we are also in support of this bill. We believe it's a essential way to address the teacher shortage here in Nevada. It benefits Nevadans, and of course, it's an efficient use of tax dollars. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Kent Irvin, ERVIN, Nevada Faculty Alliance. We're in support. It's a very interesting long-term investment model on the question of time to completions with advanced placement credit and dual credit. We now have some folks who graduate from high school with an AA degree and then can get out quicker, so it might be a little earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, Nicole Rourke, representing the City of Henderson. We certainly recognize the need for more teachers in our schools, and we certainly also recognize the need for more programs to find interest for kids when they're in high school so that they see a pathway going forward. So for those reasons, we're here in support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one else to testify in support here in Carson City, moving to Las Vegas. Is there anyone there in the room in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 428? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 428?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 428, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Member Skidham with the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance. We know that workforce development often starts in the classroom. We are very enthusiastic about opportunities that work to introduce students to various career pathways. We are in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This is Sheila Brave with the University of Nevada, Reno. We are in support of AB 428. We thank the sponsor for bringing this bill and identifying innovative pathways for our students to look for teacher pathways and into the workforce. So thank you for that, and we're in full support.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we'll move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 428? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 428? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone on the phone lines that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 428?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Coming back to Carson City, if there's anyone that would like to testify in the neutral, I invite you to the table. If there's anyone in Las Vegas, I invite you to the table there, and we'll start here in Carson City.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is James Hum, and I represent GoEd. Just here in neutral on the bill, and want to express our gratitude to working with the bill sponsors. As we were amended out, we are rescinding our fiscal note on the bill.
Thank you so much for that. Not seeing anyone at the table in Carson and Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone lines that would like to testify in the neutral on Assembly Bill 428?
Chair, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Then I'll invite the presenters back to the table. I just have one ask. Thank you so much. During your presentation, you had mentioned that there were some adjustments to some of the fiscal notes. I would ask that you get those updated fiscal notes to our committee so we have them for the file.
Daniel Stewart for the record. We will do that. I did want to just kind of close the loop on the difference between Clark County and the other counties in the bill. Actually, the program, really the only difference between Clark County and the other counties in how this bill is set up is Clark County is the only one in this bill that is mandated to have a CT instructor in every high school, right? And that was the only way we're going to diversify our teaching force, especially in Las Vegas, is to make sure we hit every single high school. So it's mandated in Clark County. It's not mandated elsewhere, but to the extent that the other counties have programs that match up, they will be eligible for the same benefits that any Clark County student would.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that clarification. Go ahead.
And Shay Backus for the record. I just wanted to thank you all for your time. I know this is a big ask, but it truly is an investment in Nevada's future. And so thank you all for that. And we'll get you all the additional information. We may need to submit another amendment to clean up some stuff we talked about today.
We will appreciate that. And we only have a few days left, so you guys got to work the midnight oil to get that done. So thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 428, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 430. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair and Assembly Committee on Ways and Means. Once again, for the record, Shay Backus, Assemblywoman for District 37. And I also am joined by Lake Martin down in the Grant Sawyer building. But I'm just going to give a high overview, and then if you all have any questions, both of us are available to answer them. Essentially, AB 430 addresses two issues: clarifying the taxation of cannabis vaping products and fixing the calculation of the wholesale excise tax on sales of cannabis and cannabis products. The Department of Taxation submitted an unsolicited fiscal note after the first reprint of the bill, which decreases the amount of their original fiscal note. According to the most recent fiscal note, the bill would require the Department of Tax to adopt regulations, revise forms, and implement changes into the computer system, and hire a compliance audit investigator too. The total amount of this new fiscal note is $233,499, and I thank you, and I am available for questions.
Thank you so much, and I do have one question. We all know that revenues earned from cannabis go into our education account. So can you tell us what the impact will be exclusive of the cannabis vaporizers or have on collections deposited from the other tobacco products taxed in the unrestricted general fund? It's a mouthful.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for that question. And you are correct. The clarification on the vaping products, we're not eliminating like all vaping products. So under the bill, if a vaping product can solely be used for cannabis, and I understand they are two completely different types of products, for that is solely used for cannabis, that would be the only one that would be removed. Everything else would remain in the other tobacco product category, which would still be, the revenue would go to the general fund. I've talked to fiscal a couple times on a lot of these different items because we had before revenue this session a variety of items asking to be removed out of the other tobacco products provisions, and it's difficult to quantify. And so, and I hate to not have that answer. And it's likewise with revising the wholesale tax. The goal is, the law is to be that is being taxed at 15%. The realities, and we've probably all read articles in the newspaper that some of our wholesalers, especially those that aren't vertically integrated, are in a situation where they're probably paying more than 15% on products that they're selling at the wholesale level because of how the fair market value is taxed. But I think your concern was the decrease in the general fund, and I'm just hoping it is nominal.
Assemblyman Watts?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much for bringing this forward. I just was looking at this, and really, I guess following up on that comment a little bit, particularly about the wholesale. I see this, so it looks like, essentially the plan moving forward is essentially to have one path for vertically integrated using that fair market value because we want to have some protection in place to make sure that a sale price isn't kind of manipulated to get around. And so, but currently we use that fair market for everybody, and it's kind of a lagging indicator, which kind of gets to your point. And so if there's not a vertical integration, you're just going to do it on the actual sales price. And so I guess the first part is that understanding correct? Because I do think that makes a lot of sense, and we'll address some of the issues that have been brought up by the industry. And then again, I think you mentioned this in your response, but do we have any? We don't have really any estimate of what the impact is going to be because, again, we can't really predict the future of the market, and essentially that fair market value calculation, I think, recently and historically has generally resulted in kind of an overpayment compared to like the sales price, but it could also potentially result in underpayments depending on market conditions. So I guess, can you just speak a little bit to that? Is my understanding of the policy correct? And do you think that ultimately the overall impact of this on collections will be significant, insignificant, one way or the other?
Thank you, Assemblyman Watts, by and through Chair Monroe Marino. I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to welcome Ms. Martin to correct anything that I say that's incorrect or to elaborate. First and foremost, I think your summary was a great summary of the understanding of the bill. And next, I want to talk about two parts. I do believe, unfortunately, with the wholesale, it does sound like for those that are not vertically integrated, that are selling to, so you have a small business cultivator who's selling to a retailer, that I've heard stories of them paying 15% on like over $2,000, but they're only getting $1,000 for that transaction. And the reason why I was motivated to bring this bill was for the small businesses, that I didn't want to eliminate like other opportunities for business owners to be cultivators and end up in a world where we're just completely vertically integrated, because that seems to be a good, successful model. But with this hope, I'm hoping, and I'm not saying that our cultivators right now are selling on the black market or anything like that, but I think if we are doing things properly, one, we're going to keep small businesses in business to continue selling and keeping hopefully that wholesale revenue going forward. And also part of that wholesale revenue, as most of us probably are aware, funds our Cannabis Compliance Board, and hopefully will also cover this little fiscal note as well. But the other thing is, so I'm hoping we will probably see a slight decrease, but if we're making our taxes more straightforward and fair, hopefully we see an increase, and that the market is more competitive so that we're not like losing out to the illegal market. I guess it's a better way to say it. And also turn it over to Ms. Martin to add anything.
Thank you. Lake Martin, Nevada Cannabis Association. Assemblyman Watts, your assessment of the policy is absolutely correct. And Assemblywoman Backus, you did a great job of summarizing the impact of the bill. Just a couple of other points is that the Department of Tax did ask for legislative guidance to make these corrections that we've set forth in the bill, particularly the revisions to when calculating fair market value for those vertically integrated transactions. They'll be using quarterly numbers instead of figures that are collected over a 6-month period, 3 months back. So we're using data that's 9 months old when we calculate the fair market value. And that has resulted in the fair market value being very far off, as you noted, from the actual sales prices. Sometimes as much as, like the Assemblywoman noted, $1,000 a pound, where we're paying the fair market value is $2,000 a pound. Also, with the bill, it will exclude tax from the sales price. So right now we're calculating the fair market value. It's essentially a tax on a tax, right? So when you are selling, the seller is building in the cost of the tax into what they're selling for. And then that price, that total price, is then used to calculate the fair market value, where actually the fair market value should be based on just the price alone without the additional tax added to it. And so that will be removed from that calculation. It will also improve the data set that tax is using to make the calculation by putting in Metric, which is a seed to sale tracking system, a way to indicate as the transaction is made, whether it's an affiliated or unaffiliated transaction. Currently, taxation has to go through and filter all of that data, which just by nature results in some data that shouldn't be included. For instance, it's a vertically integrated transaction, so the number isn't a reflection of the actual market prices. That's included currently, and that will be eliminated. All of these factors that we're using and all of these changes that we're making are adopted from a successful model that Colorado has been using for years and years. They have a very similar structure to what we have, except they made the policy change early on to tax arm's length transactions on the actual sales price, while we've been using this fair market value, which they've seen the tax is much more reflective of the market, where ours is inflated.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I appreciate it. I think this is just a much smarter policy for our state moving forward. And while we'll see in the future, based on market conditions and other things, what the results of it are, I do think that this is a much better way to move forward. And I am hopeful with some of the other conversations that have been had about the illicit market that by having a fairer legal market atmosphere for folks to participate in, as well as hopefully some other efforts to increase enforcement on the illicit market, that ultimately this will prove to be a fiscal benefit to the state as well by creating a better system for this wholesale tax. Thank you for the question, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Assemblyman O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. I understand this is actually would be a simpler, more direct way of taxing on this, but I'm curious, is there any estimate, is there a loss we're going to have in tax revenue from it? Do we know how much?
Thank you, Assemblyman O'Neill, by and through Chair Monroe Marino, Shea Backus for the record. And in part, yes, it is a much simpler way, especially for those long arm transactions. They're not going to be paying a tax based on the fair market value, but that fair market value that's kind of currently in place, except as Ms. Martin indicated with the shorter term look at, we're slightly changing that, but it will be like more current. It'll be, and I think accurate is an adequate word, but we still have to keep that fair market value in play for the vertically integrated folks, just because, I mean, they can control pricing and everything. So with that, that's going to be that way. It will be more straightforward for those cultivators that are selling. And even I met with a group of people that actually have vertical sales, but they also sell to other retailers. And so for those other sales, then it will be very straightforward. It will be on the sales price that they would be paying their tax. Going back, you had asked if we were going to have a loss in revenue, and I kind of was expanding that on my response to Assemblyman Watts is, yeah, I do believe we may have a dip in revenue on wholesale, but you got to look at it as right now some of our wholesale sellers, I guess, the cultivators are basically right now paying a tax greater than 15% is the problem, so it makes it more accurate that they are paying a accurate tax of 15% on the goods of the cannabis that they are selling to retailers. And so there could be a dip, but I'm also hoping if we keep our smaller business cultivators, the ones that aren't vertically integrated in business, and with the proper taxes being paid, that hopefully we will also maybe see an increase. I mean, but unfortunately, we've seen a decrease. If you're on revenue with us, we've seen a decrease in the projections of cannabis sales right now. And so hopefully we're with the bills, as Assemblyman Watts referred to right now, to hopefully crack down on the illicit market. Hopefully we'll see increases in revenue.
Chair, if I may, there's a lot of noise in the back. Just that last part, did you say we will see an increase in revenue eventually?
Thank you for the clarifying question. I did hear the noise in the background. Immediately, I do believe unless sales go up, we will probably see a decrease immediately in revenue from wholesale, because right now people are paying taxes essentially at a greater rate than the 15%. But I'm optimistic that hopefully with some of our other bills that we're looking at this session, if they get out and signed by the governor and become law, hopefully we can crack down on the illicit market. And when we crack down on the illicit market, hopefully then our legal market will increase and thereby increase overall revenue for our education fund, actually.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for this bill. It seemed a little complicated to me at first, but I don't know of any other business that's taxed on 9-month-old wholesale numbers. Do you? It just, So what I'd just like to clarify and get on the record is that, yes, we may lose some revenue, but it's revenue that's being basically over-collected now.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Dickman, by and through Chair Monroe Marino. I'm not sure if you're really asking a question or if it was a rhetorical statement. I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I started diving in to my knowledge about other revenue of our state. I'm not sure if we do have something. I know there's some things we look at, averages and whatnot. So I'm not sure, and I don't feel comfortable. I would probably dial a friend and ask our fiscal staff for any information where we are having such a look back. But you are correct. Right now, due to this look back, and it being so old, that what's happening is cultivators are paying right now potentially a higher tax than what is in statute that's anticipated to be 15% of the wholesale. And because we utilize the fair market value, they're paying a fair 15%. But if they really were just being taxed at 15% of the sales price, that would be lower than what they're paying.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, I thank you both for the presentation. I invite you just to step back, and we'll invite those that are here in Carson City and Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 430 to please step up to the tables. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Monroe Moreno and committee. My name is Esther Badiata with Sol Consulting, representing Planet 13 Holdings, R&BW, and Hardin Premium Cannabis Dispensary. We strongly support AB 430 as this legislation will address distortions in the current wholesale taxation structure, and the bill will remedy these miscalculations, resulting in a wholesale cannabis tax regime that more accurately reflects true pricing in the marketplace. We believe that the much-needed changes in AB 430, improving the accuracy of the state system for taxing wholesale cannabis, will prove to be beneficial for the state and for the industry. We are in full support, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Will Adler, representing Silver State Government Relations, representing Sierra Cannabis Coalition. The Sierra Cannabis Coalition would like to add their full support to AB 430. AB 430 looks to actually correct or clarify Nevada's current cannabis law, which states and has always stated since the ballot initiative that we shall tax all cultivated cannabis products at wholesale at a rate of 15%. Today, the rate is exceeding 15% for almost all cannabis wholesalers or cultivators who sell at wholesale. And this language in AB 430 would correct that down to a true 15% or them only paying what they sell it for. So thank you very much. Appreciate the bill.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Daniel Stewart, for the record, here on behalf of Puffco and Pisos, multiple clients. We'd just like to say ditto. This is a long time coming. This is a great bill. A lot of good work has gone into this, and I think it's a healthy step in getting our cannabis industry where we want it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Chelsea Capurro here on behalf of the Nevada Cannabis Association. I want to thank the sponsor for bringing this, and we are in full support.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair. Brett Scolari, Strategies 360 for CPCM Holdings, Kira Cannabis Solutions, Green Marta, Nevada, and Clark Natural Medicinal Solutions. We are in support of this bill in the policy committee. Appreciate the sponsor bringing this bill, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Scott Rutledge with Argentum Partners on behalf of Deep Roots Harvest and Mom's Meds Management. Just want to ditto what was already said and say we would ask for you to support this bill. One other thought. There are some cultivators that have been selling, you'll see like top shelf products in this marketplace, and they demand a higher price. And so it hasn't been talked a lot in these hearings, but some of those companies are selling and paying an effective tax rate less than 15% because they've been paying the wholesale, the modified tax, right? So it's hard to know where we're going to end up in terms of tax collections, but I would assure you that there are definitely some cultivators, because they've called me and we've had conversations about this, that they might see their tax rate go up, and that's just because they're selling their product at far above the fair market value. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See no one else here in Carson City to testify in support, and no one at the table in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 430?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we'll move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 430? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 430? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone on our phone lines?
Chair, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to neutral. Do we have anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 430? Seeing none and not seeing anyone at our table, and if I am correct, we have no one on our phone lines, correct?
That is correct, Chair.
Thank you so much. With that, are there any closing statements? Wonderful. We will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 430, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 506. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno and committee members. For the record, my name is Timothy Galuzzi, and I'm the administrator of the Enterprise Information Technology Services Division in the Department of Administration and the State Chief Information Officer. I'm here today to introduce Assembly Bill 506, which makes an appropriation to the Office of the Chief Information Officer for computer equipment replacements and the replacement of the homegrown information technology investment systems needed to develop the state's technology portfolio. We are unaware of any amendments. At this time, I can answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you so much. I just have one question. I know that there is another bill out there, I believe it's Assembly Bill 446, that would give the authority for general fund appropriations for this. If that bill does not, if that bill fails for whatever reason, and there has not been traditional general funds, would maybe a loan and a repayment of that loan be the direction we should move?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. Once again, for the record, Timothy Galuzzi, Administrator, Enterprise IT Services. If that bill were not to move forward, we would be happy to work with fiscal staff on any strategy in order to get these investments in. We feel that these investments are critical. It creates additional visibility on the state technology portfolio that not only can our agency enjoy the benefits of, but the planners and the decision makers in the state would be able to leverage that information. So we do feel that these investments are critical. And so if Senate Bill 446 does not move forward, it actually just got scheduled for its work session today, then we would be happy to work with fiscal staff on both the legislative and the governor's office to find another solution.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there anyone here in Carson City or in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 506? Seeing none. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify on Assembly Bill 506?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here in Carson City or in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 506? Seeing none and knowing that we have no one on the phone lines, we'll move to the position of neutral. Is there anyone in Carson City or Las Vegas that would like to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 506? Seeing none and knowing that we do not have anyone on our phone lines, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 506. Thank you so much. And we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 507.
Good morning, Chairwoman.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairwoman Monroe Moreno and members of the Ways and Means Committee. Christina Shea, Nevada Department of Corrections Deputy Director. With me at the table in the south is Director Zorinda. AB 507, as introduced, makes appropriations for vitally needed equipment department-wide, including medical equipment, computer and information technology equipment, facility culinary equipment, food services equipment, replacement equipment, transportation vehicles, and a garbage truck. All of these items are necessary for safe and effective operations of our institutions and have reached the end of their useful life. Additionally, the bill funds an important staffing study, which will allow the department to work with an expert in the first year of the biennium to review our shift relief factor, post charts, and other non-custody positions, and provide best practices and staffing recommendations for consideration during the 25th legislative session. 2025. The department's last shift relief factor was approved during the 2015 session and is needed for a comprehensive analysis and update. The department respectfully requests an amendment to Section 4 of the bill to reduce the funding from $3,022,392 to $2,822,392 for the switch replacement and allow an allocation of $200,000 to the replacement of munition and ammunition department-wide. Additionally, amend Section 16 of the bill to reallocate $40,000 from the Humboldt Conservation Camp security cameras and allocate this $40,000 to replacement of munitions and ammunitions department-wide. The Humboldt Conservation Camp is scheduled to be closed during the 23-25 biennium based on the budget closings during the Joint Committee on Wednesday, May 10th. The total request for the replacement of the munitions and ammunitions would be $240,000. This would fund needs for our academy, training, and additionally replacement of munition and ammunitions department-wide in the director's budget so that the department can comply with the fiscal audit in 2020, which indicates that the department shouldn't fund munitions and ammunitions through inmate-driven expenditures. If approved, this request would create appropriate funding for the department for the 23-25 biennium and allow for the ordinance committee to systematically manage and purchase the approved munitions and ammunitions department-wide and follow recent audit recommendations from the Legislative Council Bureau related to use of force. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and I do have a few questions for you. On the staffing study, can you tell us when the last staffing study was completed? If I remember correctly, there was funding appropriated during the 21 legislative session for the staffing study, and can you tell us what happened with that?
Thank you for the question, Chairwoman Monroe Moreno, Christina Shea, for the record. Yes, the 2021 legislative session appropriated funding for the staffing study. However, due to COVID and other challenges department-wide, the leadership at that time was unable to complete the staffing study, and so therefore our department is prepared to take on that initiative over the next biennium.
Thank you, and that funding was reverted back to the general fund because it wasn't utilized for the staffing study, correct?
Christina Shea, for the record, that's correct.
And then my next question, on your amendment, it moves everything from the specific correctional facilities into one-shots, I believe to the director's office. Can you tell me the thought process of moving everything to a one-shot?
Yes, thank you for the question, Christina Shea, for the record. So the amendment would allow for movement into our one-shots budget account. It's 3714 for the majority of them. And the reason for that is so that it removes it from our departmental budget accounts so that we can manage the funding appropriately outside of the budget accounts individually.
Okay, so maybe I'm just a suspicious person, but during the last interim, monies were moved from one facility to another facility without informing this legislative body or getting the approval through the IFC process. If all of these funds are put into one fund, would you be able to move them without coming back to the legislature so that the legislature could weigh in to where those fundings are going, or would they be going specifically to the programs that are listed in the bills at the facilities listed?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Christina Shea, for the record. So any of the funding that is into the one shot, to 3714, would be in restricted use categories, and therefore the department would not have authorization in the back language of the appropriation to move that money. So I hope that answers the question.
It does. So everything that would be going to Northern Nevada Corrections Facility or Southern Desert or Ely would be going just to those facilities in that one shot. Just want to make sure.
Yes, thank you for the question, Christina Shea. Yes, that's correct. It'd be in 3714, one-shot budget account, wouldn't be authorized to move into any other budgets.
Or move between facilities.
Thank you for the question, Christina Shea. Yes.
Thank you so much. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, I thank you so much for the presentation. And if there's anyone here in Carson City or if there's anyone down there in Las Vegas with you that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 507, I invite you to the tables. Seeing none, is there anyone that would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 507? And BPS, I totally forgot to ask you, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to testify either in support or opposition of Assembly Bill 507?
Chair, there are no callers at the time.
Thank you. And not seeing anyone coming to the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas to testify in opposition, is there anyone that would like to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 507? Seeing no one coming to the table, BPS, I assume there's still no one on our telephone lines, correct?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you so much. With that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 507, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 508. Good morning.
Good morning, Sherry Brigham, Deputy Director for the Department of Public Safety. With me, I have Andy McCool, our Fiscal Manager, and our Acting Chief, Aaron Evans, to testify on their one-shot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Andy McCool, and I am the Administrative Services Officer for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Parole and Probation. I'm here to introduce Assembly Bill 508, which includes a general fund appropriation for the purchase of computer hardware based on the EATS standard replacement schedule and Windows 11 upgrades for computers not being replaced this biennium. It also includes replacement radio equipment as directed by NDOT and handguns to transition from the current aging weapon to the standard unit adopted by the department. Tasers will also be replaced in accordance with the manufacturer recommendation. And finally, a general fund appropriation will support the continued modernization of the offender tracking information system. There are no pending amendments, and that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Seeing none? This was easy for you guys. All right. I have no questions. You answered them during your presentation, so thank you so much. I'll ask you to go ahead and take a step back. And if there's anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 508, I invite you to the table. Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 508? I am not seeing anyone down in our Las Vegas office. BPS, do we have anyone on our phone lines?
Chair, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 508? Seeing none, not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, and knowing we have no one on our phone lines, we'll go to neutral. Is there anyone that'd like to testify in the neutral on Assembly Bill 508? Seeing none, still not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, and not having anyone out on the phone line, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 508. And thank you so much for your patience to wait around for your bill. And we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 509. Welcome back.
Thank you. For the record, Sherry Brigham, Deputy Director with the Department of Public Safety. We are here to present investigations one shot, and to do that we have Captain Mike Edgel and my senior fiscal staff member, Curtis Palmer. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. My name is Mike Edgel, for the record. I'm with the Department of Public Safety Investigation Division. I'm here to introduce Assembly Bill 509, our one-shot request. Section 1 and 2 requests a replacement of our vehicles that have or will have reached age or mileage replacement thresholds consistent with the state administrative manual. Sections 3 and 4 request a replacement of our current radios, both mobile and portable, and our current radios, as our current radios will no longer be compatible with the updates to the state radio network made by the Nevada Department of Transportation. Section 5 and 6 requests a replacement of cameras which are 10 years old and have reached the end of life. They have outdated technology and are no longer supported. These cameras are used to document crime scene incidents and evidence. Section 7 and 8 request replacements of a variety of computer hardware and or software consistent with applicable replacement schedules and or end-of-life requirements. Section 9 and 10 request a replacement of TASER electronic control devices consistent with end-of-life requirements. This concludes our one-shot request, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you. Members, do you have any questions for the presenters on Assembly Bill 509? All right, seeing none, thank you so much. And we'll move to testimony in support. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 509? Seeing none, is there anyone in the room in Las Vegas? Not seeing anyone. We will move to our phone lines. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone lines?
Chair, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we'll come back to Carson City. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 509? Seeing none and not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, and knowing we do not have anyone joining us on the phone line, we'll go to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in the position of neutral on Assembly Bill 509, seeing none, I think we can close out the hearing on Assembly Bill 509, and I thank you so much for your patience today. Members, we have caucus starting in just 7 minutes, so I ask that you rush down to, before we go, I'm sorry, while we were sitting here, we got a BDR. I'll rush through it. Before we go to public comment, let's do this. We have a BDR introduction. It's BDR 14-1194. It revises provisions relating to indigent defense. I'll remind members that your vote for this BDR does not mean you'll support it as it moves into the bill state, so I'll accept a motion. Thank you. I have a motion from Assemblyman Watts, a second from Assemblywoman Bacchus. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Then, that brings us to the last item on our agenda, public comment. Is there anyone here in Carson City that'd like to give public comment? Seeing none. Anyone in Las Vegas? Seeing none. BPS, do we still have no one on the phone lines?
Chair, there are no callers on the line at this time.
Thank you so much. So with that, members, this meeting is adjourned. We'll see you down in the caucus room.